once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here is college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready for, I guess, the weekend. Chase is back behind the glass. Haven't seen my dog in a minute. Man, always good to see my guy when he's behind the glass. And maybe this weekend, maybe we'll get something going. But we'll get you guys ready for the weekend. I know it's been quite the week. Chase, I know you were out. I don't know if you had some vacation or you had some personal stuff, but always good to have you back here. But if you guys are ready for the weekend like I am, trust me, it's been a long week, and hopefully we can just kind of kick back and relax, and that would be very nice. So we'll get you guys ready for that. We got some recruiting talk that we'll talk about. We'll dive into Alabama's latest commit. Yes, that's right. Recruiting's been pretty hot, whether that's in a good way or a bad way, Chase. I guess depends on who you ask. But we did pick up another commitment this morning. Matter of fact, it was live on Tide 100.9 that I saw. And we'll talk about that, talk about what that means for Alabama, the recruiting class, and what this young man brings to it. And looking forward to doing that. And, of course, we got Clint Lamb at the top of the hour. We had to reschedule from Tuesday to Friday, which is going to be fun because we'll get to discuss his list that he's been doing, basically his top players for this upcoming season. And I think he's up to 20 now. He's done the top 20, which will be good. We'll be able to go over and get his thoughts on his picks and maybe see if we can give a little bit of I wouldn't say pushback, right? I wouldn't call it pushback, but just maybe there might be some movement that we could have on there. I know me and Reed initially started to try to throw some names out there and maybe see if there's some spots we would maybe shuffle up a little bit. We didn't have a bunch of time, so maybe we'll do that here at some point. And, of course, we always encourage you guys to get in on the action, especially on a free-for-all Friday. We can go anywhere and everywhere. 205-342-9904 is the number to the program. Of course, you guys can always join us on our streams. We're live on pretty much all these platforms nowadays. At the Miller's Edge is where you can find us. YouTube, X, you name it, plus the Tide 100.9 Facebook page. And for anybody that is traveling, of course, you can check out the streams wherever you're at. But if you prefer radio, we still have that Tide 100.9 app. That is a worldwide app. Lets you listen to not just this show, but all the shows globally, no matter where you are at. So always download that. Don't forget about it. Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You guys know the drill. I'm pretty sure you know how to download an application. But I mentioned recruiting. We'll talk about that here. I guess we might as well just jump right into that, Chase, because I feel that is pretty important. Other than I forgot to mention Team US. They took an L last night at like the last minute. They added 7 minutes of extra time against Turkey. I'm over here thinking I got a blue shirt on. I'm thinking of the club Chelsea against Turkey last night. In like the 98th minute, I mean, literally the way it works is like after that possession right there, they would have blew the whistle. And Turkey was able to punch one in. Chase, did you get to watch that game at all last night?
Just a little bit. A little disappointed, but that's soccer for you. It's not over to the last second of the game.
No, 100%. No, it's definitely crazy to see it, like, because like extra time like that, like you'll see people get close, but for them to actually literally, I'm talking about that was the very dead last second of that match. But I don't think it matters too much, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't even think the U.S. even played a lot of their starters. So, I mean, kind of is what it is. But I almost just feel like from like not a morale standpoint, I think everybody's still, I guess confident in this team. U.S. is looking good, but it's like, dang, it adds a little, I don't know. Maybe it'll serve as some motivation. Maybe it's a little bit of not a wake-up call like they really needed one, but you know what I mean? Maybe it kind of serves as like, all right, you can't let stuff slip, even though, again, I get they probably went into that match not too overly invested if you're kind of holding your starters out of it. So, we'll probably leave that there for now. I don't think they play until next Wednesday is the next matchup. So got some time until then. Maybe we'll discuss a little bit more in depth now that things are kind of winding down. I think that's going to be the round of like 32. I mean, this is a long tournament. I mean, I think it goes until like mid to late July. I think around like the 19th or something like that. So always good. I don't know if you guys are soccer fans, but you got to talk about it a little bit, man. It's the U.S., Team U.S. Even if you're not a soccer fan, man, support Team U.S. I like soccer. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as a lot of people make it, Chase. I think people exaggerate. If you had to choose between soccer or baseball, because those are the two common ones, in golf, let me throw that one in there. Soccer, baseball, golf, people say are like the most boring sports to watch. Which one would you say is your least favorite or the most boring for you, Chase? If you had to pick one.
I'd have to go with golf, honestly.
Really?
I think baseball. I like the running. I like just there's so much going on at any minute. Soccer, you have to be on your toes at all times. But I feel like golf, you can take a minute, step back, kind of regroup yourself, and then go to the next hole. And I just like things so much fast paced. I'll get bored. I'll be like, okay, I'll do something else. But yeah, golf in those three sports is the most boring for sure.
That's fair. Now, it depends on how you're really, I guess, judging it. Because to me, I mean, I know I asked you this question. I guess I got to pick one. But, like, I don't really think any of them are, like, truly boring, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to pick one, I would probably say probably would agree with you, maybe golf, if you had to pick one. But the thing about golf is it is a relaxing sport, in my opinion. Like, I kind of put golf with one of those things where, like, on a Sunday afternoon, especially like with when it really comes down to the final, the remaining players, right? When it's like that championship round and it's close like that. I mean, that's entertaining. But realistically, you just throw it on the TV, you can, work done around the house, or you're just kicking back in a recliner and it's just background noise, watching, the different putts and, people taking their putts on the green and stuff, going from golfer to golfer. I mean, I think that's kind of like a soothing type, I guess, of sport to watch. But I would say, I mean, I think soccer is pretty entertaining, especially when people are making runs. You know what I mean? Build up, like, oh, okay. And it slows down a little bit, picks back up, slows down. And then baseball, I think baseball is a lot more entertaining than people give it credit for. Personally, I mean, there are moments where it does get flat and feel boring, but like, especially when it feels competitive and you're watching teams, like, for example, like, these SEC teams were going at it, right? In the postseason. I mean, Georgia Ole Miss or Georgia Mississippi State, whoever it was, they had that big game and like three home runs and like stuff, like moments like that, which I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it's big. Or you're watching a pitcher who's just, I mean, he's just throwing it. You know what I mean? I think that is entertaining, but some people might not. I don't know. But anyway, just thought about that. That said, I guess we are already due for a break. When we come back, we will officially talk some recruiting because we got to talk the Tide's latest commitment, a guy that plays my position. I'm always fired up to talk about that. So we'll talk a little bit about who he is, what he brings to the table when we come back on this free-for-all Friday edition of Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started.
Listen, all
right, let's do some roll call. Let's see who we got in here. Dang, lighting finally picked up, man. All right, fair enough. Jake, what's up? Happy Friday, he says. What's going on, man? Happy Friday. Crystal, happy Friday. 71 days until Alabama. Who do we got for 71? I know my guy Ross Pierschbacher. He was in my class. Graduated together, too. We both are red shirts. Actually, wait. Yeah, Ross did red shirt. Right? Why am I'm drawing a blank. It's all good. We were both class 2014. Shout out to Ross. Quanjo, is it Cyrus Quanjo that wore 71? I think Ari wore 74. I played with Ari. I didn't play with Cyrus. Big Quanjo brothers, man. Talk about some big dudes, man. Ari's a phenomenal person, by the way. Cyrus, I'm sure he's a great dude, too. I didn't play with him, so I don't know him as well. But I know when I met him, like my freshman year, dude, you talk about dude with like big hands. Like, it's shoe size was crazy. I think he was 71, though. Cyrus. And then I think, Darian Dalcourt. He was 71. Probably missing somebody else, but yep, 71 days. Coach Chelsea, what's up? Happy Friday. Christian Rollers, Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9 in chat. What's up, Chelsea? Watch his highlights, like him. Probably would only play him outside the next level. Played a little too much inside in high school. Yeah, that's how that works, though. Especially, I think Hillcrest is probably a decent sized school, I guess, in terms of Alabama's ranks. But I mean, 6'1", 6'2", 235. I mean, that's a lot of people are going to have you playing defensive end. I mean, I'm sure he probably could have played outside backer, but he's probably one of clearly the bigger, stronger guys on the team. Probably need him there, and that's just kind of the system they run. They run a lot of odd front. But yeah, no, I think he's a solid pickup. We'll talk about him here in a second. Now, again, if your expectations or if you're comparing them to some of these top recruits, I mean, of course, you're probably not going to be blown away. I'm already knowing. But again, like we talked about with the other guys, Stafford Willis and the other edge that we just got, Tyler Younger, if you just look at them as prospects, right, and look at the tools and traits that they have, their upside, their potential, how they fit, if you look at those things and you throw all the stars kind of out the window, again, I respect that stuff to an extent. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's just useless, but if you really pay attention to the important factors, which is all the things I just mentioned, there's a lot to be excited about with these individuals. That's not to say that they're going to be all Americans, all SEC players. That's not to say they even end up being top tier contributors. I'm not saying that. But in terms of just projecting how they fit into things that they could potentially end up doing, I think all three of these individuals over the last week, granted, not the highest rated folks, but they all have a lot of things that I think are positives to their game, positive traits to build off of, and I think they ultimately can potentially be good players. So just give them a chance. Not you guys. You guys obviously are supportive, but for the people that are just like, oh, I see a 3-star, I'm out. Just give them a chance, man. These young men chasing their dreams. I mean, I would argue that these guys, with them being lower rated guys, probably have a little bit more care and passion. Not to say the higher ranked guys don't have that, but let's just be honest. Nowadays, when money's involved, these young men are choosing to play here because it's the University of Alabama. I mean, I respect it. Give them a chance. Tomorrow is Night of Champions for WWE. I just asked Chase that, man. Chase, I knew it. I was like, I'm pretty sure we got a pay-per-view this weekend. I was thinking maybe NXT has one as well. Maybe there's two. Maybe there's two. Who else we got? Trevor, what's up, my guy? Travelpreneur, what's up? Army, what's up? Mike, what's going on? Ramon, we got Arthur. We got JJ Ramon. What's up, guys? I was mentioning a book. Hold on, we might need to find that. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're about to talk some recruiting talk, Chase. That's the talk that's going around right now, man. It's that time of year. I guess we finally converted into, I guess, talking recruiting here on the show, man. I mean, that's what we've talked about pretty much all week. But it's been fun, I'll be honest with you. I mean, like it's not like really breaking down tape, but it's cool to go watch and eval and do stuff like that. So I don't mind it, but I like doing it this way where we're focused on the guys that we know are committed here. Not saying they couldn't go elsewhere if they still have to sign, but you get the point. I ain't sitting there watching 300 high school kids that could end up at God knows where.
I was just about to ask you how you felt about that. Like,
oh no,
how these like recruiters, I'm not recruiters, but people are like into this stuff. They watch so much film. Like, you just gave light onto it. So I was going to ask you, like, how you felt about that, and just like the way you do it. I like it too because you're able to break down like who's actually committed.
Yeah.
Football, so it makes it easier.
The important pieces. I mean, but nowadays, I guess technically it's not necessarily a lost cause if you watch everybody, because you could end up signing them the following year out of the portal. But I would just rather watch them at that point. I don't know. Listen, there's only so much time in a day, and I just couldn't do it. So I respect the folks that definitely take the time to do all that. But we're going to focus on the guys that do, in fact, sign. And we're going to talk about him in a second. But I noticed Crystal said in the chat, and I think somebody's mentioned this before, but I couldn't find it. I thought they said something about my dad. But Crystal just mentioned that I am mentioned in John Talty's book, The Leadership Secrets of Nick Saban, where it talks about the penalty I got against Louisville. Of course, that whole clip of me getting chewed out when we were up like 34-0, and he lectured me about it. I don't remember doing. I mean, so I'm guessing they're getting Coach Saban's perspective. That's kind of interesting. I haven't read that book. It makes me want to try to find one. John Talty's The Leadership Secrets of Nick Saban. We'll have to look into that. I don't know. I know exactly what is being referred to. You guys probably remember that. The clip always, every time they post like a highlight reel of Coach Saban yelling at people, like I'm on there, Mac Wilson's on there, Lane Kiffin's on there. I mean, like I can tell you everybody who's on there because we got some memorable butt chewing from Coach. And yeah, always fun to look back on those. Anyway, we got to talk some recruiting, Chase. Jeremiah Beverly an edge out of Tuscaloosa, right down the road, Hillcrest High School. Shout out to Hillcrest. My teammate, Keith Holcomb, he played at Hillcrest. I actually got to go to some Hillcrest games when I first got to Alabama. Matter of fact, when I first got here, I spent a lot of time around Hillcrest. Keith grew up in that area, obviously went to the school. So I almost felt like I was a part of the Hillcrest community briefly. Not really. I mean, I just went to a couple football games. We were redshirting, and so we had some weekends off. We'd go watch some games and whatnot. But anyway, this young man, Jeremiah Beverly, made the decision this morning, I believe on the Gary Harris show, to commit to Alabama. He makes the second edge in this class. A little bit different than Tyler Younger. Tyler Younger being that 6'5", 230-pound guy that has, all those types of tools and traits, a little bit newer to the position. Jeremiah Beverly, on the other hand, a little bit shorter in stature, probably 6'1.5", maybe 6'2", projected to be a Wolf in Kane Womack's defense. But just talking a little bit about him as a player, I got to watch, again, the highlights that they have on their huddle, right? I mean, I haven't seen them full games, all that. But what I can tell you is, who he reminds me a little bit of, Chase? The guy that I played with by the name of Anthony Jennings, man. You're talking about guys that, and Anthony's more like probably 6'2", like a legit 6'2", maybe. And I haven't stood next to him, but I feel like they're around that same range. But that being said, they're both heavy-handed individuals, very powerful. He was playing. Of course, I get a package right at every time, every day. It never fails, man. I get a package, and then I got my security on the job. I apologize, but he's a very powerful and explosive individual. Now, he played in a system where they play a lot of odd defense. So naturally, as a defensive end, in odd, you're a 4-eye, right? So he's projected to play outside backer, but in high school, played a lot of true end, right? Like a 4-eye type end, which would be more like really a strong side defensive end, or even maybe a bandit when we're in those odd looks. So that being said, you kind of got to project him to play Wolf, but I feel like he's got some pretty good twitch and athleticism for a guy that, and he's not like heavy, right? I mean, 6'2"-ish, and I think he was listed at like 235-ish at this time, and he'll probably get up to around 240s if I had to guess. But he appears to have the athleticism to probably do some of the things they need him to do at Wolf. But I like the power, I like the strength that he plays with. He plays a really good natural leverage, has some good twitch to be more of a powerful guy, showing some pass rush ability, Chase, and I like the pickup. Right now, I was saying this during the break. He kind of reminds me of the other two guys that we had commit earlier in the week. Not the highest rated individuals, but when you actually look at them and who they are as football players, right? The tools and traits that they have. And we're talking about traits in terms like physical traits. I mean, yes, he's on the shorter side. I'm not sure about arm length, but I just know he's he doesn't have those types of traits necessarily, like the measurables that a lot of people like to go after. But he feels like a good football player, right? When you watch him, he looks physical, he's aggressive, and I just feel like he's going to be a guy that can go out there, set a firm edge, kind of like I said with Anthony Jennings, right? Like I played with Anthony. Anthony won the tallest, didn't have the most length, but he was very powerful, very heavy-handed, set a very firm edge. He was great against the run, but he also was able to develop as a pass rusher. I mean, even right now, if you watch Anthony, like Anthony's not going to light up the stat sheet. He'll tell you, as a pass rusher, more of a speed to power guy, but he can be effective. And I think that's kind of what I get from this young man. He kind of gives me those vibes. Maybe even like Quay Russaw being a shorter, more explosive, physical individual. I think Quay was a little bit more explosive and probably had a little bit more twitch and pass rush upside slightly, compared to those two. But who knows? I mean, again, we're talking about a guy who's still going into a senior year, and I haven't seen him enough to even say, I mean, he could end up being explosive like that. But I'm not going to lie, just watching Quay work, man, he's got some explosiveness that, I mean, it's a little bit different. But I like the pickup. I think it's a solid pickup. It makes two outside backers now and gives you some good depth going into next season. I think both of these guys, if anything, I mean, Jeremiah might be a little bit more from a technical standpoint, ready to maybe add some depth or try to contribute a little bit earlier. Tyler Younger, I think, has much higher upside, but we'll have to see. But the good news is, I mean, you got some young guys coming in for depth. Linebackers, outside backers, they're going to play on special teams, so they'll be able to provide that. The new 5-for-5 rule, you're not really worrying about red shirt rules like that. You pretty much got 5-for-5. So that is something to consider there. He was interviewed, I believe, and I'm reading this directly from Bama Online. He mentioned he was blessed to receive the offer. He's been going to Bama ever since he was a little kid. Matter of fact, I saw a picture of him with Coach Saban when he was a youngin' man. So I'm sure it's a very special moment for him and his family. For the fact that I was able to receive an offer from Alabama, it was a great opportunity. I'm blessed to be in that situation. Then he talked about their vision for him. He said they see me more as a wolf type. As I develop, I need to get adapted to outside linebacker. On my film, I don't really play outside linebacker. I played more DN, D-line, mostly interior. The thing they love about me is my effort, my mentality, and my effort, and me just being that type of player that's going to give it all. And that mentality is what they love about me. So he makes a second commit from Hillcrest just in the last couple of years. Remember Zay Hall, another linebacker from Hillcrest, who's currently on the team. So, man, I don't know, man. Maybe there might be a little pipeline from Hillcrest to well, not to Tuscaloosa. That was dumb. Hillcrest to Bryant Drive, Hillcrest over to, I don't know, the UA campus. Grab some linebackers and some outside backers from over there. And I'm sure those guys are excited to team back up and play together. But we got to hit a timeout. Again, big congratulations to Jeremiah Beverly. Again, just to kind of recap, I guess a comp feels similar to like an Anthony Jennings type of strong edge setter, a guy that's going to be physical, very heavy-handed, shown violent hands, can probably develop into a power guy with his pass rush. And I think ultimately just probably ends up adding some nice little depth to that room. And he definitely is a good football player. I'll say that, Chase. You watch guys that you can tell that they need some work. They got to develop. And again, everybody does, but just watching him, I feel like he's kind of got some stuff to him that he's probably a little bit ahead of some of these other quote unquote developmental guys. So just doesn't have the length, doesn't have necessarily the physical measurables, but a lot to like about the young man. So shout out to Jeremiah Beverly, the Tide's latest commit. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling on this free for all Friday edition right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Oh, and listen. So, money, have I been on TikTok bidding again? All right, here's the thing. So that definitely was a package from my TikTok bidding. However, that was from last week, and it's just not getting here. I apologize. I guess the mail run is at this time, and of course, it's crazy. It's the little dog that I have that's doing the loudest barking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. I mean, I guess he thinks he's a Rottweiler. He's a mini golden doodle, so I don't know what he's going to do. But maybe bite some ankles, maybe. I don't know. Let me pull up Jeremiah's tape real quick, though. You pull up his tape so we can throw it on the screen. Coach Carl, what's up? Wait, you guys got to hear this song. Matter of fact, wait, that same Coach Carl, right? Yeah, y'all got to hear this song, man. So I had Coach Carl send me this song that he made. I think he made it. I'm assuming he made it. Let's watch this for a second. So right here, they're in the odd front. He's working on the 4-eye. Nice hand usage. Like he reminds me of Anthony, man. Like the way they play just feels very similar. Anthony Jennings, 3-3. Matter of fact, it was one of Jake's favorite players. Nice job in pursuit right there. Trying to get to a long arm. Nice job countering at the level, right? Really good rush awareness, right? We always talk about that. Countering at the level. It's a really good job. And it's tough when you're rushing out of right here. He's in the 4. Head up on that tackle. So you see the angle. I mean, we always say the only choice you have right here is going to power. You're not going to beat somebody off the edge when you're head up on them and trying to bow outward. But he does a nice job, right? Get into that long arm, keeping that separation, feeling that quarterback step up. This is what we call the level, right? When you get at the level of the quarterback, you rush it past the quarterback, we're playing with 10. But he has a nice feel for it, disengages, comes up with the sack. Really nice play, man. So that tells me he's got good rush awareness, right? Good job with his hands right here. Talking about using that little pepper step, setting them up. Whoops, I'm sorry, guys. Whop. Beat the hands, beat the man, get skinny. And he finished with a reach, right? So when I was saying, like, I'm not saying he's like the most advanced person, but when you compare him to I know Tyler Younger hadn't played the position longer. Even some of these other guys, like when we watch Antoine Jackson, like he's currently where he's at. Like the stuff I'm seeing him work, like he's got good technique. He's got a lot of good things to work with, man. So I like him. He just only thing he really lacks is really that length, man. That desirable length that you'd want from an edge player. But he's a good football player, man. Nice job, left now getting extension. Really nice hands right there. Violent hands. That's always a good sign, man. Violent hands. Oh, we got Shob on the line. He loves that push-pull technique, man. You see him kind of engage and pull off. Anthony used to do that all the time. That's why I think he kind of, from a size perspective, great hit on the quarterback. Size perspective and the way he plays, he just reminds me a lot of 3-3. Really nice power. Really nice power. That's why for me, man, like the length and stuff is great. And I know a lot of people when you're doing the evals, really, I love the physical hands, right? Bull in the back. I like this. That's what I'm saying. Don't get caught up too much on these star things. Let people joke around and say whatever, but I'm just telling you, he's a really good football player. Now you have to just see how the length. I will say, it is important when you're talking about projecting to see, like, all right, when he's going against tackles, so when you're playing Wolf, you're going to be lined up in a 5 technique, which he's doing the 4-4. I get it, but these are high schoolers. But when you're playing against 6'5", 6'6" tackles with 35-inch arms, he is going to be at a disadvantage. But again, there's plenty of people that do it. Just got to make sure that, technique-wise, and they're using the things that they do well, right? I mean, for a guy that doesn't have the most length, he's really done a good job learning that long arm technique, man. I look at the power, man. I love the physicality. I love the power, heavy-handedness. I love even just the hand technique, man. You got a lot to like. I like him. Oh my God, man. Can we do a show without this damn security dog in the background? All right, let me bring us back. And welcome back into this Free for All Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're talking about Jeremiah Beverly, who is the Tide's latest commit, an edge out of Hillcrest High School right down the road. So not a far drive for him to get on a campus chase. We were watching his highlights during the break. And just to recap, if you guys want to go watch him or listen to me, just check us out on the stream. You can rewind it a little bit. But again, very similar to a guy like Anthony Jennings, similar size, the way they play, heavy hands. Love that push-pull technique. You see him working a lot of different little, he's got to swim, right? You see that push-pull, that long arm. So for a guy that doesn't have a whole bunch of length, he's got a lot of power and he knows how to use it. Really good motor. Not the most explosive off the rock, but again, we can do some drills. We can try to work on that. But I think he's got a lot of nice qualities to his game, to be honest with you, Chase. And I'm telling you right now, if this guy was 6'4", he probably would probably be like a top 150 recruit easily, just being honest. But when you're like 6'1.5", 6'2", of course, it's going to be a little bit of a disadvantage, especially when it comes to evals. But I like the pickup. I think it's a very solid pickup, and excited to see how he makes that transition to Wolf. 205-342-9904. We got Shob up next. Shob, welcome in.
What's up?
What's up, Shob? You sound like what is it, Scream off a Scary Movie when he's calling and talking?
Yeah. What's up, bro? Man, that's one of look, Beverly's one of my guys at church, man. We've been, just giving a shout out. We got another guy in. Man, he's a good, hard-working young man, loved man, respectable. And I tell anybody, man, he's one of the most respectful kids I know in the city. And he's humble. And he's got a story. It ain't my job to tell his story, but I tell you, a kid that everybody will love when they get to know him, and respectful, man, and loves his dad. His dad's dad's a hard-working man. Worked camp with me for like 15 years.
Wow.
And I know you know him. You've probably seen his dad. He's out there with us doing the D-line work.
Oh, really?
When you meet him, yeah, he's been out there since he was a little kid. So,
Man, yeah, I'll tell you this, show. Listen, he's got some really good tape. I mean, he's strong as hell and he's physical, man. I love how heavy his hands are. I mean, he's got a violent punch to him. I mean, he's going to be able to set a hell of an edge. I keep saying he kind of reminds me of Anthony Jennings, man, like just the way he plays. They're very similar, and I think, man, I mean, if he was probably a couple inches taller, probably rated a lot higher than he is. That's why I always say, man, don't overreact to the ratings and rankings because this guy, I watch his tape. I'm more impressed than him than some of these guys I've watched that were much higher recruits. So I'm excited for the pickup, and I think it's a great opportunity for him. I love how excited he is for the opportunity, and always good to have young men like that. He seems like a great kid, so it's good to hear you sign off on that.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, he's one of the best. But he also works hard to work, man. He's the one we was talking about. I forgot who it was. I think it was Coach Shep was talking about it last year? He was talking about them dogs. We need to be dogs. Like, he's a natural dog.
Yeah.
You don't have to pump him up to go. He puts on that uniform. He's ready to knock out whoever don't look like him. Don't look the same jersey. So that's them guys we've been missing. When all you old school guys were saying about he has a heart like a Reuben Foster.
No, I can see it, man. I like just watching him. I mean, you got a down block, and he's he's giving that dude a shove. I mean, he's physical, right? Like, he's always seeking out contact. So I love that about him, man. I think it's going to be interesting watching him make that transition to outside backer. Might be a little bit of a transition period because when you're so used to with your hand in the dirt all the time and playing a 4 sometimes even a 3, to going up to standing up and having to drop in coverage, might be a little bit of an adjustment for him, but he looks to be a pretty solid athlete. I mean, he's got a hell of a motor. I think he'll be just fine. I mean, it's probably not going to be a strong suit when he does have to drop and do stuff, but I think he'll be okay for the things that they probably need him to do. So I think it's solid, man. I'm excited.
You got to remember, he got a whole nother year.
Exactly. and maybe he'll be able to get some. I don't know what they're running this year or whatever. I mean, the system that he plays in, I mean, they got him at strong end. I mean, he's playing that 4-eye, but I don't know. Maybe he'll get more reps this upcoming season to play a little bit more outside backer in their system. I don't know. What to see.
Well, I don't know. I think they're going to keep him, but he doesn't. Man, he's single-handedly, man. He's coming down. He's going to own the division. Like, he was murdering them in 7A last year. He's the real reason they held Hoover to what they did up there at their house, punched him in the mouth. But now coming down, and now he's got to face the Centrals, and man, he's going to walk the dog as a senior.
I wouldn't be shocked, man. I mean, he definitely a hell of a high school player. Again, we just got to see that transition to the next level. And I mean, there might be some limitations with that length in terms of going against some of these bigger tackles, but I think he'll be all right. I mean, that physicality helps a lot of stuff, man. I mean, listen, everybody was whining and complaining about Ruben Bain's lack of length, and you see how dominant he was. So I mean, if you're a physical player and you really know how to use, the tools you do have, if you're, that's like leverage, for example, if you're a shorter guy, you typically have much better leverage. If you're strong, you're powerful, you can still cause a lot of head cases for other guys, even when they do have longer arms. So yeah, I think it's going to be a solid addition, man. I like it.
Well, and you see, I brought up the dog thing because I heard the dog bark. It just made me feel like, hey, there we go. Dogs are in the house.
Well, not that one. That's a small little golden doodle that won't shut his mouth. I mean, any little noise, man, it's like he thinks he's a Rottweiler. I'm like, dude, you would get stepped on. Please sit down. I'm like, come on, man.
But that's what we need. We need folks that have the dog in them. And see, that dog has a big dog heart.
That's true. Hey, there you go. I like what you did with that, show. You dang right with that. 100%. Now you 100%.
Because we got so many big bodies with poodle hearts.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
There's nothing wrong with it. And I tell you this, I'll tell you this, and this is what I said. I know the guys. It's nothing wrong. They're not bad people. It's just we have too many good, respectable young men. you got to get some probation out of that.
Yeah, you need a few of those guys.
The curfew pushers.
Yeah,
they're the ones going to play on the line when the game's in there. They're the ones on the borderline of good and bad, but you got to have them because when the game's on them, and that's the problem I see with, I ain't going to say names, but you know who I have a problem with on the team, but that's what I see. I see the good guys showing up too much on the field and not the bad person. You see what I'm saying? On the football field, you can't be a nice guy. You got to hit people. You got to hurt people. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to stop the ball. You can't be that on defense. You can't be like, well, do I want to be the good guy today? You know what I'm saying? You can't be bipolar. You got to be one way or the other.
No, that's fair. But I mean, listen, I mean, that's on the coaches. They gotta, they're ultimately in control of that. You know what I mean? Who's out there and really even kind of just getting that out of those players. So I mean, I think we got some guys. I think we got a couple guys that have a little bit of something to them.
But we do. We got a lot of them. We got a lot. Well, what I'm saying is, we have a lot of people that are dogs at practice, and getting the game is totally different when you know, man, you've been there.
Yeah.
You know that when people spread that light on you and see what happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That light totally changes everything.
No, it does. The live bullets are different.
Be a dog at practice and get out there and see them fans and fall out. Like, what?
Yeah, and it works the other way around too sometimes. I know dudes that, man, they practice like crap. Then they get in the game and you're like, bro, where is this during the week?
They're just gamers. Some people are just game players. They're not practice players. I hate practice.
True.
I'm like Allen Iverson practice.
I'm sure you did, man.
Show up.
Well, you don't. Don't give your players that mindset. You better make sure they're practicing. Show.
Oh no. See, I'm different though. See, when I'm at practice, I'm the guy I never want to be. I never want to be the big, out of shape guy running everybody. And here I come, being the guy that has to run people. It's so funny because the guy's always the person getting everybody in shape. That never made sense to me in school. Now I'm the guy.
That's funny. Yeah, that's how it works sometimes, man. Believe it or not, that's how it works sometimes, man.
But appreciate you having time on the show, man. And number one show in the land, man. Y'all need to listen, man. So
I always appreciate that love, show. Appreciate you, my guy.
All right, man. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too, brother. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's hit a timeout. When we come back, we keep on rolling. Again, we've been talking about Jeremiah Beverly, the latest commit for Alabama. I want to say there's another decision coming up too, Chase. I think it might be a cornerback, but I want to say he's been trending a little bit more towards another school. Maybe we'll talk briefly about that and a couple of these other things that have been coming up because there's a lot of news out there right now. We talked a lot yesterday, but we'll keep on rolling. This Free for All Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down? All right, this is what I was going to say before we went off last. Hold on, wait, let me not do that. Okay. It was let me see. Hold on, let me play this for Coach Carl has sent me this. Hold on, let me see if you guys can hear this.
Yeah.
Hey, Chase, can you hear this? Chat, can you hear this?
Turn it up. Miller's Edge. Yeah.
Can you guys hear this?
Turn it up. Turn it up. Miller's Edge.
Wait, hold on. Coach Carl sent me this, by the way, if you're wondering what we're listening to. It's the craziest thing. I don't know how these people are getting so good at this. Hold on.
5 days, same voices I know, talking about Saturdays and glory days. Christian got the rings to prove it. Trophies on the shelf, yeah, he lived it. He's seen the smoke, he's felt the flame.
All right, I'm trying to figure out how they are making these songs. Because wait, I'm gonna mix it up in a second. Hold on.
Turn it up, it's the Miller's Edge.
Yeah, it's kind of smooth though.
Deep right to the chest, from Tuscaloosa nights to those Meadowlands games. You got a preacher in cleats in the champion's name. First down, faith to the goal line pain. They call him Corey, the pastor of pain.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. So that was the first time I heard that one. That one was fire. The first one he made was country though. Hold on, wait. Let me see. There's a country one. Again, shout out to Coach Carl. I think he was in the chat. Where'd he go? Yeah, Coach Carl 45, man. He sent me these. Hold on, here we go. This is the first one. This one was country. My dad probably will gravitate towards this. You guys know he's like really, really close with Darius Rucker. Here we go.
Roll Tide on the radio, 5 days, same voices I know, talking about Saturday.
This kind of gives me Jason Aldean vibes. I feel like this would be good for like football season, right? You know, the country songs always hit, especially during football season. Personally, they hit during the summer when everybody's enjoying summer weather. But you know what I mean? When it comes to country and football, I feel like football season's a good time. But I don't know. Y'all tell me which one you like better, man. The R&B one or the country one?
Days and glory days. Christian got the rings to prove it. The trophies on the shelf, yeah, he lived it. He's seen the smoke, he's felt the flame. Turn it up, it's the Miller's Edge, where the stories cut deep right to the chest. From Tuscaloosa nights to those Meadowlands games, you got a preacher in cleats and a champion's name. First down faith, the goal line pain. They call him Corey. The pastor of pain.
Yo, listen. You see what I'm saying, though? I feel like that would be like a good like college football theme or something during the season, man. I don't know. Y'all tell me, man, which one you like better, one or two, man? Both are fire, though. I mean, lyrics, I think, are pretty much the same, but it's just different vibes. Now, he sent a third one. Now, we got to come back, though, so I don't know if we have enough time. Country one was, I thought it was tough. R&B one was smooth, though. I don't know, man. Shout out to Coach Carl for sending that. The country one, I think we can do both. We can just mix it up. Maybe we'll have like one for one day. But when I hear the country one, I think it's good for like football season. I feel like when you think of like, I don't know, like before a football game, like before they broadcast it or something like that. I feel like that country one gives me that kind of vibe to it. Then the other one is just smooth. The other one is just kind of like, I feel like more like the podcast off season, maybe. I don't know. Shout out to Coach Carl, though. All right, let me bring us back. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9. Chase, tell me what you thought about that. Now, I don't know if you had a favorite between the two. For our radio listeners, Coach Carl, he dropped two songs for us, man. Both for like I guess themes, intros, anthems, I guess you want to call them, for the Miller's Edge. It was pretty dope. And so he had a country one and he had an R&B one. I thought both of them were really good. It sounds like the chat was kind of split, man. I see we got multiple people mentioning the R&B one, multiple people mentioning the country one. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll play a quick snippet real quick for our radio side to hear what we're talking about. Here's the country one.
Roll Tide on the radio, 5 days, same voices I know, talking about Saturdays and glory days. Christian got the rings to prove it. Trophies on the shelf, yeah, he lived it. He's seen the smoke, he's felt the flame. Turn it up, it's the Miller's Edge, where the stories cut deep right to the chest. From Tuscaloosa nights to those Meadowlands games, you got a preacher in cleats and a champion's name. First down faith, the goal line pain. They call him Corey.
Chase, I'm not gonna Chase. Hold on, man. We might need to like play that, send that over to Catfish.
Seriously,
what's the other station, or the rock or the country station, or whatever the other station on the? We might need to send that copy over there, man. Of course, Coach Carl gets all the credit. I'm not gonna lie, man. I know some people that are a little indifferent. Country is, a lot of people love it. Some people kind of like, oh man, it's not me. But that one is a vibe, man. I feel like even people that don't like country would kind of rock with that song. I don't know. I like it. I don't want to play too much music right now because I know we got some stuff to talk about. But I don't know. You guys tell me. Maybe we can start playing them. I don't know how we'll turn that into. I guess I could just send it over to Chase and then we can just start. I don't know, starting the show with that, man. And switch it up every now and then. All right. That being said, we talked about Jeremiah Beverly again. Big thanks to Gary Harris, I guess, for getting that commitment live on air. Chase, were you producing the show when that happened?
I was indeed.
Nice. Was that your first commitment that you were a part of live on radio?
It was so cool, Christian. Just because his family came, they had the poster boards when he committed. It wasn't like, I don't know if you remember that commit we had talked about that just made everybody get mad because he was like aggressive and he was switching hats
Oh
left
God,
and right.
that dude. Oh my, yeah, I remember him.
He was
Yeah.
very respectful, and it was very nice to meet him and his awesome family. But it was cool to be a part of that moment.
Yeah, no, that seemed cool. I didn't hear it live. I just kind of saw like the snippet afterwards, but that's a pretty cool idea to do it on radio, and hopefully they streamed it too, video wise, because I know, I mean, with radio, the only thing with radio is it's like a local thing for the most part. So hopefully somebody streamed it too. That way you could see it elsewhere. But anyway, we got a few minutes before we hit this top of the hour break. I saw this from the next round the other day, Chase, and I thought it was interesting. I hadn't brought this up. It's one of those little, not games, more of a question, I would say. But they had mentioned all the power conference teams that Alabama has never played. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think this is a pretty easy answer here. I think we're all going to have the same one. But you've got teams like Arizona, Arizona State, Iowa, Kansas, Northwestern, Oregon State, Pitt, Purdue, Virginia, UVA, and then Wake Forest. Those are, I guess, teams that Alabama has never played. Chase, out of that list, is there one that sticks out to you that if you had to pick one? I think we're all going to agree on this one. I mean, I give you mine. I think Oregon's the obvious answer for me. I would love to see Alabama take on Oregon. Dan Lanning. I mean, that would be a top matchup. I think it would be a good litmus test to kind of see where you're at, right? Especially if you're saying like this was going to happen this upcoming season. You would know what kind of team you got if you're going against Oregon, who has been a team that's lost on average maybe one regular season game over the last 3 years, I think, and then a playoff team, I think, each of the last few years as well. That said, since that was an easy answer, if there is a runner-up, if there is another team on there that was not Oregon, Chase, that you had to choose for Alabama to play that they've never played before, which of these teams would you choose that's not named Oregon on this list?
I would go with Arizona. Arizona has had some pretty good talent the past couple of years. I mean, it was definitely a big powerhouse in the Pac-12. It was so cool to watch them late at night, Pac-12 night. But they have some good talent. I know Torio McMillan. He played there. I know he plays with the Panthers right now. And there's been some other good talent, and just their program as a whole. I think if you compare them to like Iowa, they really haven't had a good winning season. Kansas, they were good when Les Miles was there, but then he had his situation. Pitt, I think Pitt would have been a really good one. They've kind of contended with Clemson and SMU a little bit, but I feel like Arizona, besides Oregon, would probably be a really good marquee matchup. Now, Alabama would probably crush UA, but I just feel like that would be, like you said, a good litmus test to feel like, okay, are we afraid of kind of this outside kind of team we've never faced before, or are we going to look at it as like this is another team, we're going to show what we got, and it's going to prepare us when we face the SEC?
If I had to choose a team that's not Oregon from this list, I think Arizona's a good one, maybe even ASU. I'll mix it up though. I'll go Iowa. I was known for a physical brand of football. I want to say they had the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line last football season, right? Because we watched the tape from Southern Cal playing them, and that was the main game when we were watching Devin Tompkins and kind of doing our eval on him. He had some issues in that one. Now he performed a lot better than the other ones, and maybe he was banged up that game. I don't know, but I just watched an offensive line that was physical, man. I mean, you talk about getting movement off the football. I mean, they were blocking him and the rest of the D-line yards down the field, Chase, right? So I understand why they in fact won that Joe Moore Award last football season, unless I'm making a mistake there, but I'm like 90% positive it was last season that they won it. They've had good defenses over the years, right? Matter of fact, normally they don't really have good offense. They really have, good defense. But I think, their staple being physicality. And they've had some decent years too as well. I think last year they only lost 4 games last year, so they were solid. Now the losses they had were to number 9 Oregon, number 17 USC, number 11 Indiana, and then number 16 Iowa State. So really, and then they beat Vanderbilt in the ReliaQuest Bowl. So really all their losses came to their ranked opponents on the schedule, but they weren't like bad losses. Oregon, they only lost 18-16, USC 26-21, Indiana 20-15, and then 16-13 Iowa State, right? So, I mean, they're a solid program. And I think from a physicality standpoint, it would be an interesting matchup, especially talking about Alabama currently. We're complaining that we're not physical enough. So I think putting us against an opponent like that would kind of tell you who you got, right? And tell you what type of players you got. Because when you play a team like Iowa, and you got them big boys that just want to be physical and then they're going to make it a long day, especially up front, I think that would help get our mind right. So I would pick Iowa for me. If you're not going Oregon is going to be everybody's first choice. But to make it more fun, if you had to pick another team on this list, again, Arizona, Arizona State, Iowa, Kansas, Northwestern, Oregon, Oregon State, Pitt, Purdue, UVA, and Wake Forest. I'm going Iowa. Chase went Arizona. And let's see in the chat. I think Jake mentioned ASU as well. Let's see. Looks like a lot of people are definitely leaning Iowa as well. Yeah. So I think everybody's kind of thinking the same thing a little bit here. All right, we got to hit this top of the hour break. When we come back, we keep on rolling. Sorry, I missed Smitty. Smitty said Arizona State because he said the campus is right outside of Phoenix. So that was a personal one for him. He just wanted to maybe have a chance at going and watching Alabama play right in his backyard. I don't blame him for that one. Smart thinking there. We got to hit this top of the hour break. When we come back, we keep on rolling on this free-for-all Friday edition right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Mario just mentioned Coach Kalen DeBoer's interview with Cole Kublik. I have not watched that. But speaking of that, we didn't even get to dive into everything that our guy Martin Houston talked about with Kalen DeBoer yesterday because we were busy. We had a lot of guests yesterday. Pastor Payne. We had Adam Lamparello of Lamparello Law. We had Brandon Clear. So we'll dive back into some of the latest talk from head coach Kalen DeBoer in hour number 2 coming up right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
WTBC Tuscaloosa, W265CG Tuscaloosa.
What are there any main points that you guys want us to look for with that Cole Kublik one with Kalen DeBoer? I remember I watched Martin's interview with Coach DeBoer, so I have a better idea. And I know yesterday we talked about the recruiting. Oh, crap, we got Clint. Yeah, I'm tripping. We got Clint at the top of the hour. Yeah, Chase, if you don't mind calling Clint, thank you so much for that reminder. I just got distracted for a second. We'll get to this after let me see. I got the interview pulled up with Cole. Is there anything specific, though, from that? Have to ask Clint about his point about 5 for 5 and a possible one-time transfer affecting high school recruits who won a bidding war. I'll ask him about that. I didn't see it, but all right. I'm trying to skip through this interview a little bit. Hold on.
And the reps that are distributed, how that's
we can
done,
just kind of click through it during the breaks. We got Clint when we come
back.
back.
A couple hires recently. Noah Fisher, who is an assistant tight ends coach at Louisville. People may hear that, but not know the real background. He played tackle. To me, like you are part of what that can tight ends. Y'all now take reps with 2 guys or 1 guy, as opposed to your offensive line coach having to go left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. Okay, 2s. then you
So basically, he's explaining like the benefits of having these assistant coaches, right? You have an offensive line assistant, right? Tight end assistant who has offensive line background. You can separate groups, kind of like what I was talking about with the defensive line. Jamie was responsible for the bandits. That way, Freddie could focus more on the interior guys. So that's what Cole explained. I just skipped through that because we ain't got a whole bunch of time.
rinse and repeat, do it again. The level of instruction for that group from people who speak that language, that seems to have sort of skyrocketed on your roster. How intentional has that been from you?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. Number one, you want your people all aligned. And you mentioned, and I felt Ryan Grubb when we were together and I was coordinating and he was the offensive line coach. I thought he was becoming the best one in the country, you know, and that's what I was around. And he just was all in on it. We were rock solid. And
hold on, we'll get back to this. We got Clint ready to go. So we're going to be joined by Clint here now. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're now joined by our guy, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us weekly here on the show with all the latest regarding Alabama. Clint, welcome in, man. Good Friday to you.
Absolutely, man. Good talking to you today, Christian.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure, man. I'll jump right into it, Clint, man. Had a commitment today for Alabama. I think you got to cover it. I know they did the commitment live on our station. Jeremiah Beverly, 3-star, or maybe borderline 4-star. Regardless, doesn't matter. Edge out of Hillcrest High School right down the road, made the decision to commit to Alabama. We talked a lot about him in hour number one, kind of giving our eval and breakdown of who he is as a football player and kind of what fans can expect. What are your thoughts on the big commitment today from Jeremiah Beverly choosing Alabama, Clint?
Yeah, you know, he's a little bit of a different player than a Tyler Younger. Younger is long. You can tell from a frame standpoint, he's probably going to get a lot bigger. There's a lot of untapped potential. You can tell that probably doesn't have a ton of experience playing on the edge. You look at a guy like Jeremiah Beverly, doesn't have that elite length. I think he's somewhere between 6'1.5" and 6'2", weighs between 230 and 235 pounds. And just when you watch him on tape, a lot of odd fronts, obviously. So just his role, kind of more so being a defensive lineman than an outside linebacker. The evaluation, you can look at some of those traits and kind of get an idea if he'd be able to play wolf for you, but it's a little bit more difficult, you know, putting him out there on the edge and putting him in a 2-point stance and letting him get after it. But he's a hustler, man. He's just very active. I think he's he's exactly the type of guy that you would love to add as far as being a local kid, being an in-state kid. Has always wanted to play at Alabama. He went to all the Nick Saban camps back in the day, got his picture taken, and he's just going to be very appreciative of the opportunity. He's going to go in, he's going to work hard, and you know, you never know when those types of players, you know, what they can become. And from a build standpoint, not nearly as violent, even though he's got some violence to his game, and not nearly as explosive. But there are some, from a build standpoint especially, there are some Clay Russaw similarities, just when you talk about that lack of length and stuff. But, you know, I think this was a good get for Alabama, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how he develops.
Yeah, I actually said he reminds me a lot of my former teammate who I spent a lot of time with, Anthony Jennings. Anthony might be maybe a half-inch taller or so, but when you talk about a physical edge, a guy that's very dominant at setting an edge, heavy-handed, loves that push-pull and a speed-to-power type rusher, but has a little bit of, you know, solid hand usage to his game as well, can flip his hips when he needs to. But realistically, man, you know, you're getting a dominant edge setter, a guy that's heavy-handed and kind of sets tone, really good motor. He just has a lot of similarities there. So I think he can end up growing into a really solid player. I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, he's not like a project. I mean, he's got a lot of good stuff to like about him based off his tape. It's really just the measurables. And I said earlier, I think if he was couple inches taller, he'd probably be a top 150 recruit, even just based off of his film personally. Now, I mean, like you mentioned, like explosiveness. Yeah, I mean, explosiveness is not necessarily there, like right off the ball. Probably could get a little bit more out of him there, but I think the measurables are what really kind of held him back in some regard. But regardless, he's a really good football player, it appears, at least on the high school ranks, has a really strong motor, very physical. And ultimately, it's just a matter of seeing how he transitions to that new position and then stacks up against, you know, guys that are going to have a little bit more length when he is on the edge. He's playing against these tackles that, 6'5", 6'6", sometimes even 6'7", that with those long arms. He's got to learn how to use your tools to your advantage. And I think he's going to be very solid. Clint, I want to ask you about this roster. I know you've been doing your breakdown, man. Last time we had you on here, I think you were just kind of starting, and I don't think you really even got into it. Now you've already dropped your top 20 players for this upcoming season. Let's start with 1 through 10. We had it pulled up the other day. I know you went ahead and had Yonze Pierre as number 1 on your list. I want to say it was followed by Bray Hubbard. Walk us through that. We can even just kind of break it down top 5 for a second. How did you come away with Yonze being number 1 on your list, then a guy like Bray Hubbard number 2, and so forth?
So, like I think I mentioned this on your show before, it was just a combination of factors. It's the experience, it's the established production, the potential production, the talent, whether it be from an NFL standpoint or a college standpoint, and then importance to the team. And while I absolutely love Bray Hubbard, I think he is one of the most important players to the team because of just the energy that he plays with, the playmaking ability. Yonze, and the fact that I think you're building your entire pass rush that is going to be critical to complement what we expect is going to be a very strong secondary, that's being built around Yonze Pierre. And as you know, as a pass rusher yourself, when you've got that primary, it really makes everybody else's job a lot easier because they're not getting the attention from the opposing offense as more secondary players. If you lose a Yonze Pierre, now a lot of those secondary guys, the ones that, I think that Des Zulu I wouldn't say if you put all the attention on him and he has to be your primary, I think you can maybe struggle there. I think you can have a lot more success as a guy that is not getting the primary focus from the offense. A guy like Devin Tompkins has certainly flashed. I think he'll be a strong complementary piece. They would probably have to be a lot more aggressive as far as, what they did defensively to kind of compensate if you lost a player like Yonze Pierre. On the flip side, a guy like Bray Hubbard, love everything he brings to the table, but if they lost him, while it would be a huge loss, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the fact that they love Ivan Taylor so much, you got Zay Mincy, you got Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., you got Jira Edwards, you got obviously Keon Sapp's going to be that other starter. You could still get by and still get, in my opinion, what would be quality safety play if you lost to Bray Hubbard. So those were the two guys mainly that I was looking at, and ultimately I decided to lean towards Yonze because I think he's going to be so critical to the pass rush.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would have Yonze over Bray. Listen, Bray is very productive, but I agree with what you're saying as well, and I think that's very fair. Yeah, Michael Carroll 3, Xavier Brown 4, Keelan Russell 5, Latsier Brooks 6, Ryan Coleman Williams 7, Dijon Lee number 8, Devin Tompkins 9, and Caleb Woodson 10. Was there any difficulties when you came up? I'm sure there was. It's always hard when you make a list, but where were those difficulties, Clint, when you made this 1 through 10? Give me a name or two on this list that you might have had trouble putting them at a spot. Maybe you wanted to put them a little higher. Is there anybody from that top 1 through 10 that you had a little bit trouble trying to find a good spot for that guy?
Yeah, Michael Carroll, I knew that was probably pretty bold because I'm putting a lot of eggs in the offensive line improvement basket, right? Because even if he is individually great, if the offensive line as a whole is still struggling for whatever reason, then I don't think he'll get the credit that he deserves. And so that's something that I took into consideration. And the fact that Xavier is a lot more established. I originally back pre-spring, I had Xavier at number 3. I like Xavier's talent a lot. I think he's going to be he's definitely going to be a potential first-round draft pick. But as far as carrying receivers vertically, and there are some limitations or some problems I've seen on tape, worry about the long speed a little bit. So with Michael Carroll, I'm looking at him and saying, dude, just from what I saw, him being a true freshman playing tackle, a position he hadn't really played in his career, the fact that he's now going to be an experienced second-year guy, the fact that he's going to be back there at guard, which I think is by far his best position, I just think he's going to take a massive leap in year 2 and really think he's going to be critical to the overall success of Alabama's offense as far as leading that offensive line and trying to get them to improve. So that was one that I, debated a little bit. With Keelan Russell being at 5, like I said, there's a lot of projection happening here. It's not necessarily established guys. It's where I think they'll be. And so I told myself, okay, if you're predicting Keelan to be the starting quarterback and, you know this offense, you know how quarterbacks can thrive in it, you know the importance of that position, not only to any football team, but this particular offense and this particular program. I mean, if you think he's going to do well, how would that put him on your list? And I even considered going a little bit higher, but with those established guys and the talent and stuff, I said, okay, top 5 I think is very reasonable. A lot of people are going to look at that and say it's way too premature to have him up there. Like I said, this is projection, but that's kind of was the decision behind that. Pre-spring, I had Latzia Brooks ranked ahead of Ryan Coleman-Williams. Coleman-Williams in the spring, I didn't hear a ton of buzz about Lottie, which is not always a bad thing necessarily, but Ryan was doing some really good things, generated some buzz. So in a lot of ways, I was looking and saying, okay, I could see the more flash coming from Ryan, but as far as consistency, when you look, I mean, the last 9 games that Lottie Brooks was healthy for, he, I think, averaged 4.4 targets per game. And in those same 9 games, Ryan Coleman-Williams averaged 3.8 targets per game. So as a true freshman, already started to see a little bit more as far as volume. Not much. It was pretty even. But I'm looking at him and saying, okay, I think if you need, like some consistency, a reliable underneath option, I think the more consistent role could end up very slightly favoring Lottie Brooks, which is why I went there. And then with those 2 transfers at 8 and 9, or I guess it was 9 and 10 actually, because I had Dijon Lee at 8. Love Dijon, but Caleb Woodson, I did debate Caleb Edwards over him, or maybe even putting a London Simmons up there. But I just think Phil General of the defense. If you lose him from an important standpoint, I know they like some of the other guys in that room, but I just think adding his experience, he's got like 1,200, little over 1,200 career snaps. The entire off-ball linebacker room outside of that maybe has 150 total. So it's just the experience factor that he's going to bring to the table. He's a 3-down guy. Thought he was just going to be super important to the defense. And then with Devin Tompkins, I think he's going to be easily one of the most important, most versatile pieces that Alabama's going to have on defense this season. So I felt pretty comfortable putting him at number 9.
Yeah, so it sounds like the importance of these players in their respective positions definitely factored in so it's not necessarily just the best players, but kind of the importance of their roles to this team as well. That's being included. Is that right, Clint?
Yeah, it's importance, it's production, what you've already done, but also what I think you're going to be able to do. It's not only NFL talent, it's college talent, because, Tim Tebow was a very desirable college quarterback, didn't translate to the NFL, but I guarantee you ask pretty much any program out here, would they take a Tim Tebow? They absolutely would. So sometimes the guy's just a better college player, so you got to take that into account. It was a bunch of different factors, and the way I described it, a lot of it was just vibes. I had no set formula, but these are the kind of things I was considering as I was having a lot of these internal debates.
No, that makes perfect sense. We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us weekly on the show. Make sure you guys check out all the great work that Clint and his team do over on Cover Crimson on all podcasting platforms, and of course on X, Clint's personal at Clint R. Lamb. Clint, I want to ask you about 11 through 20 now. This is your most recent list. Anything big from that one, or anything you want to comment on? You mentioned Caleb Edwards before. He ends up landing at 11, so he's right outside of your top 10, as well as London Simmons. Those guys, both really good young players that I think are going to take some big steps and be important. Red Morgan, man, love the physicality, love everything that he brings to the table. Rayson Delgado, the transfer at center, he's looked good this spring. You see Keon Sabb, Justin Hill at 16, one of my favorites for sure. Jackson Lloyd was impressive this spring after earning that left tackle spot. Josh Ford, we've heard a lot about him from Coach DeBoer. Will Sanders, E.J. Crowell. Any highlights you want to give us on your 11 through 20 of your list?
Yeah, Rayson Delgado, that might be a little high, according to some people, like just because they're not familiar with him. I just think the skill set, the communication, the fact that he really needed to work on his strength and his size, and he's come in and he's worked extremely hard in the weight room, in order to do that. There could be some early growing pains, but I like him a lot, and I think he's you couldn't have done much better, in my opinion, as far as finding an adequate replacement to a Parker Brelsford. Josh Ford being at 18, being the second tight end. Obviously, this is a lot easier to justify after hearing Kalen DeBoer's comments yesterday. But what he said in that interview is a lot of what we've heard all throughout the off season so far. And so I've loved him from the second that Alabama got him. And I watched this tape, that Baylor tape, Oklahoma State Baylor, put on an absolute clinic from a blocking standpoint, in my opinion. So I absolutely love him. Will Sanders being at 19, that's one where, once again, he hadn't even won the starting left guard job, but I think he is going to win it. There could be some growing pains. I still think he's growing from a pass protection standpoint. but just a lot of what Kalen DeBoer talked about in those interviews too, as far as wanting guys that have the athleticism to pull and get out in space, be versatile, be, the man block, just pretty much a very diverse offense that's going to want to throw a lot at opposing defenses. They want guys who can kind of fill both, all the different needs that you're going to want. I think Will Sanders is ultimately going to win that job, and I think he's going to be very, very good, fantastic at pulling and getting out space and locking on moving targets and getting them blocked. And then E.J. Crowell sitting there at number 20, that was a tough one because, I think there were a lot of guys that might have been a little bit too hot. He's my top-ranked freshman, and we didn't really see him much in the spring, but you can just hear the coaching staff talk about him. You can, hear about some of the things he was doing prior to his injury, the talent that he brings to the table, and the fact that Alabama really needs something. I'm not projecting him to be Alabama's starting running back. I wouldn't even be surprised if he didn't lead the team in carries or touches or even snaps. I could see that being Daniel Hill. But I think by the end of the season, you're going to look at the run game and you're going to look at E.J. Crowell, and I wouldn't be shocked if you say he was the most impactful running back. He really elevated that or helped elevate that run game to a completely different level, and he gave them exactly what they were hoping he was going to give them, when they brought him in as a 5-star recruit. I just think that when I started thinking about how important that position is going to be to the offense, I ultimately decided to put him ahead of Daniel Hill and some of these other guys. But, I understand that a lot of people are having a hard time wrapping their minds around that when we haven't even seen him yet. But I am very excited about E.J. Crowell for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're including projections and potential in your criteria, I mean, I think it makes perfect sense, especially just looking at him as he kind of offers that home run ability that I don't think some of the other backs have really at least shown thus far in their career. So, I mean, I understand it, Clint. I mean, if he's every bit of advertised like we think he can be, and he has that dynamic that we believe he has, unlike many of the other backs, I think that really could be that separating factor and could lead to him being a very productive player year one for Coach DeBoer. I want to ask you, Clint, about something you posted. It was your roster breakdown that I know you did, and you really broke down the background of all these players from all of their respective rankings from the industry, Rivals, 24/7 Sports, ESPN, On3, if it was available. And just talk to us a little bit about that and kind of what you came away with, because I also know, piggybacking off of that, I've heard the stat now that was thrown out that over the last 2 seasons in those 2 top 5 classes that were brought in, I think 47 of the 48 players still remain on the roster. Now, granted, you still have to hold on to those moving into the following year, but when you hear that stat and then you look at things like you've posted of those breakdowns of just really like the quality of the roster currently as it stands, I think it does help put into perspective a little bit for people that are kind of scratching their heads with some of the things happening. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what you found when you did that breakdown.
Yeah, and that's something that we had been talking about before. It's just the staff's ability to retain guys. That's something that it's not. You're seeing the signs of it. This is not just hopeful, wishful thinking. That number one, post the second transfer portal window after 2024. The first one they obviously lost some guys. That wasn't surprising. But after the second portal window, in the spring, they didn't lose a single player to the transfer portal. Then you look at what they didn't lose as far as some of these kids were Nick Saban guys still. They came to play for Nick Saban. They gave Kalen DeBoer a chance. Might have even given him and his staff a couple of years, but for whatever reason, maybe it wasn't the right fit from a schematic standpoint. Maybe it wasn't the right fit, culturally or whatever. You lost some of those guys. But as far as guys that specifically came to play for Kalen DeBoer and this coaching staff, it is Noah Carter from the year before, and it is Micah DeBose. And that is the only 2 players that you have lost through these first couple of years, these first few years of the Kalen DeBoer era. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, they do a fantastic job of retaining guys. You want to have the ability. I made the comparison to Jalen Mbakwe earlier, where it's like, okay, he was considering entering the transfer portal because he was getting a 7-figure offer. The coaching staff had the ability to not match that offer, and I don't even think it was really all that close, but at least get into a ballpark range where he can stay where he wanted to be at. But I mean, when he was getting offered that kind of money, it almost was the difference was so large, it's almost like you'd be dumb not to take it. And so they want to have the ability, if some of these other programs are coming at some of their big name players, they can be competitive and keep them in a range where they feel comfortable staying in Tuscaloosa and they're not leaving too much money on the table. But, you look at the talent of this roster, the fact that there is so much youth, there's just not a whole lot of opportunities for these guys that you would have to, A, spend a lot of money on, but B, they're going to want playing time opportunities. And if you don't give them that, then they're the ones that are more likely to you spend that money on them for a year. As soon as they get that chance, they end up bolting in the transfer portal. And now that you just wasted that money. So the staff is trying to be smart about it. They've missed on some guys 100%. There's no doubt. But I just don't think when you're talking about a small class and it's not expected to be littered with the top guys, I mean, even I'll put it this way. If you're planning to have a small class, but you're wanting it to be filled with highly rated 4 stars and 5 stars, that's not why it's going to be a small class. I mean, because those guys are going to still want to come in and get the early playing time and stuff like that. So it was always going to have some lower rated guys that you didn't have to invest a lot of resources into. That's something that they have missed on players for sure. But it all comes down to, I would say, based off of what they were expecting, you might end up with 3, 4, maybe 5 guys that you were hoping you could get a little bit more at a certain position. It's not like it's 20 players that you've whiffed on that, was going to completely alter. In the grand scheme of things, it's not going to alter the roster that much, in my opinion. You're not going to expect this for multiple years, but in the short term, it makes sense for this 2027 cycle.
Yeah, no, I think it's starting to kind of, make a little bit more sense in terms of kind of the more you post great graphics like that with all that data, then we hear from Coach Kalen DeBoer explaining some of these things, and you start realizing, all right, well, I can see some of this, and yeah, there's still some questions I have, but I think it makes a little bit more sense at least than it did maybe a month or so ago when you're like, oh man, that didn't look too good there. What happened with that? Then you hear this and you're like, all right, that's all right, fair enough. I can understand from that regard. Clint, before we let you go, man, I got to ask you, I saw AL.com, I think, asked this question, man. If Alabama does this one thing, they can win the national championship in 2026. What would that one thing be for you?
Oh, man, there's so many things that I would say. But, I think run game, it all comes down to improved offensive line play and run game. I just think that opens up. We know the passing game is going to be good. We expect the defense to be good. But you've got to be able to run the football more consistently. It's got to be a bigger threat. So if they can do that, I think they got a chance at not only competing for a playoff spot, but competing for a national championship.
Yeah, I think probably the majority of people presenting that question would probably say the same thing, including myself. Clint, we appreciate you joining us on this Friday, man. Before we let you go, tell everybody how they can find all the good work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Christian. You can find me at Clint R. Lamb if you want to follow me personally on Twitter. We have our YouTube channel, Cover Crimson. If you like listening to the podcast form, Apple, Spotify, or wherever, all you got to do is search the Cover Crimson Podcast Network. But once again, Christian, as always, brother, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you being flexible with the days with some of these commitments, and I certainly look forward to next week.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure, man. No problem at all, man. We look forward to it, Clint. Have a great weekend, brother.
You too, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Likewise. We got to hit this timeout. We come back. We'll respond. I want to get the chat's thoughts. We heard Clint explain his top 20 players. You guys agree? Is there anybody you might add in there? Let us know. We'll talk about it on the other side right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Wait, maybe I need to go ahead and get the new intro stuff playing so when we go in and out of breaks, man. Hold on. He by the way, I think he sent a third one. Let me see. Let's see what the third one that Coach Carl sent. I like the R&B. I like the country one a lot, man. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Shout out to our guy Clint, man. Really good stuff. Let me see. What was this third one? Oh, wait, hold on. This sounds like it opened up like some young boy or something. Hold on. Wait, whoa, we got to hear this one. Hold on. Let me do this, though, so we can. Wait, hold on. Where'd it go? Wait, no. Where'd it go? All right, here we go. Hold on. Let's hold on. Let's see this third one. All right, so we got country, we got R&B, now some young boy. It's not young boy. So it's a little something different though. It's not Young Boy. It's definitely not Young Boy. Who would that be? The opening kind of sounded like with the keys, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know. It's smooth. Let's hear it. $14, $15. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, that's right. And it was 17 that we did, but then we did an 18. So it was 3, didn't win 1, and then 18. Okay, all right, yeah, that's smooth. That's more like it's a West Coast style sound. Wait, matter of fact, I think he said that. Hold on. West Coast version. All right, yeah. So definitely not Young Boy. I like it though. Oh, well, you guys couldn't hear that? Oh man. Oh, my bad. All right, here we go. Hold on. Let me start it up. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys could hear that. Hold on. Let me run it back. Let me see. Oh, let me run it back. Here we go.
From the grind, every rep, every play, so the words hit different when he speak on the game. Ain't no guessing in the booth. Every take got proof. If it came from the field, then it came with truth. I interview the stars, yeah, the legends tap in. From Bama locker rooms to the voices that win. Current players, former greats, coaches in the press. If it matter in the game, then you hear it addressed. 5 days locked in, yeah, the pressure applied. We don't chase the noise, we just let truth ride. Welcome to the Miller's Edge, yeah, we set the tone. Real talk, no cap. Yeah, we stand on our own. 5 days straight.
Bro, how is he making banger after banger, man? Yo, this is crazy. He needs to be a producer. I mean, I'm sure AI is definitely involved here. Not taking any credit from you, Coach KD, but I'm saying I don't think that's you necessarily singing country or rapping like that. But still, regardless, that doesn't take anything away from him. I'm blown away. That's impressive. Yeah, that is that LA vibe, Chase. Yeah, that definitely was LA, which I should have saw that. He said it was West Coast. Yeah, it's fire, man. I definitely think if I had to pick one right now, I would say probably leaning the country one for. I think they all have a good like they all could be good for individual things, man. So I'm gonna definitely send them over to Chase, man. Need to make some new songs for the team. All the ones on Apple Music are older. We need some new stuff. AI is powerful when you use it right. Yeah, you're right about that. Hey, she's got a good point. Maybe you should make like an Alabama song. Maybe you should make a couple of different Alabama songs for like a new like fan anthem like that. You might be onto something. Pick songs for each week, maybe switch it up. Yeah, I agree. Depending on the vibe, man. We used to play around and do White Boy Wednesday. Relax. I'm 54% white, guys. So you already know it. Just know we play on both sides. We have fun with that. But anyway, White Boy Wednesday, we say that here at Alabama in the weight room on Wednesdays. Maybe we do country on White Boy Wednesday. Maybe we do I don't know, R&B for maybe like a I don't know what day would be good for R&B. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Appreciate Coach KD, Coach Carl for that, man. Yeah, I'm good with AI when it comes to like graphics and stuff. But you're talking about y'all are making music and stuff. You guys are way beyond me at this point. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, Chase. Let's respond to what we just talked about with Clint, man. Our guy Clint Lamb just joined us from Cover Crimson. Big shout out to Clint Lamb. Again, check him out on all platforms. If you guys listen to it, want to watch it, YouTube for sure. Any other podcast platform, you can find them at Cover Crimson. Clint's 1 through 10. I got it pulled up on the screen. I want you guys in the chat to respond. You guys listening via radio, you can drop your app messages, and we'll definitely try to read yours as well. But the list is 1, Yonze Pierre, 2, Bray Hubbard, 3, Michael Carroll, 4, Xavier Brown, 5, Keelan Russell, 6, Latsir Brooks, 7, Ryan Coleman-Williams, 8, DJ Lee, 9, Devin Tompkins, 10, Caleb Woodson. I think a solid list right there, to be honest with you, Chase. And you heard Clint with his criteria. It's not necessarily just best player overall, right? If it was best player overall, I think we could definitely do some shuffling a little bit. Still think it's a solid list. But with the factors involved with Clint, I think it's solid. If I had to shuffle anything around, I probably would, if I'm being honest with you, I would probably bump Bray Hubbard down to maybe 4. right? I think Bray is a really good player. I know in terms of production and leadership, I mean, I don't mind him at 2. But if we're saying, I might put a little bit more stock in like, because when I think of like best players, I'm thinking one of the first things I think of is in terms of who they are as a football player, where they might be drafted. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Clinton's not going off of that. Like you mentioned, Tim Tebow in college is Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is not going to be drafted as high as somebody who's not even half as good sometimes, just off of potential alone. But as productive as Bray is, I would almost argue that to me, Xavier Brown is the most talented defensive back we have. And I know some people might not agree with me, and that's fine because they're just going off of stats. But I'm going off of just really in terms of like a true eval, Chase. I would argue Xavier Brown is our top defensive back. So I would probably bump Xavier Brown up. And again, these are just minor movements, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I talked about Xavier the other day. Good length for a corner. He's sticky in man coverage. He can be physical, right? He can come up and play the run. A lot of corners don't want to do that. Zone is no problem for him. I mean, he's a ball hawk as well. We've seen him be able to force turnovers. I mean, I think he set a record for, what was it, like pick sixes by something? I forgot. He said something along the lines like Minka did, I think. So he really checks like all the box at corner. He might have a couple little deficiencies to his game here and there, but overall, man, I think he would probably be our top defensive back, pound for pound, just really more so off of talent. I'm not saying Bray Hubbard is not as talented. Bray Hubbard is very talented, but it's kind of like the debate like last season. People were saying who's a better overall player, Caleb Downs or Bray Hubbard, and a lot of people would just go straight off the stats. And don't get me wrong, I get in Bray is very versatile and does a lot of great things. But if you ask coaches or NFL personnel, if they had to pick between the two, they're going to pick Caleb Downs. Does that make sense, Chase? I feel like it's a little bit of a situation kind of when I'm comparing these two as our top defensive back. I personally would lean Xavier Brown. That's just my opinion. So I would maybe swap that. Keelan Russell, I think, like Clint said, if he ends up starting, I expect him to have a very good year and without a doubt see him as being one of the top players on this team. It was interesting. He had Lottie ahead of Ryan Coleman-Williams. That one's definitely a tough one right there because if you ask going into last season, that definitely would have been flipped. But now that we've seen both these young men and know a lot more about who they are as football players, I mean, I think that's kind of fair at this point in time. Now, one could maybe argue that Ryan has a little bit higher upside potentially, but I'm not really mad at that either. And then 8 through 10, he had DJ Lee, Devin Tompkins, Caleb Woodson. The factor that, inside backer is so important. And what we've seen from Caleb Woodson this spring, I think he's definitely deserving of one of the top spots. I think if as long as he continues on the path that we've seen him on since he's been here, I think he can end up being a really solid player. Devin Tompkins, I think he's between him and London Simmons, those are your top two defensive linemen. They're both within a few spots. I think London was at 12. I'm fine with that. And just because I like Devin Tompkins' versatility a little bit more than a guy like London Simmons, and then DJ Lee, a really talented player in that secondary as well. Any movement or any changes that you would potentially make on this list while I read this chat, Chase?
Yeah, Christian, I would go, I think 6 and 7. I would definitely switch around a little bit. I feel like even though Ryan had a very challenging season last year, I think just what he did as a freshman, I think it can't get overlooked. It can't. I think what he did production-wise and what he faced against top defenses in the SEC, and to have his number called not once but all the freaking time throughout the season, I think you just can't overlook that. You're right. Latia Brooks has a lot of upside. He's speedy. He's hard to take down, but as a leader of the wide receiver room, you have to go with Ryan Coleman-Williams a little higher than that. I think the conversation with Xavier Brown and Bray Hubbard, they're very good at their positions. They complement each other, but I have to agree with you. I think Xavier has more upside with his length. I think without him last year, you think about the key moments he had, you kind of
he's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
he's a big piece. Yeah, well, you think about it. You're right. I mean, I look at it like this, and Clint kind of alluded to this. He was saying if you were to lose Bray Hubbard, I mean, with the depth you have behind it, you probably could afford that a little bit more than maybe losing Xavier Brown, who's your cornerback one. I mean, he's your best, man cover man corner that you have, which that's kind of the way they recruit, man. They recruit such length that, they love to play zone, so it makes sense. But to me, Xavier's like, that's why I said pound for pound. I mean, he's one of the guys that you can call, man. You're not really worried about it. He strapped up, was it Cam Coleman from Auburn last year in that Iron Bowl game, who was top portal wide receiver, made all that money, and is going to be a first-round draft prospect. I mean, Xavier Brown had the clamps on him, man. You talk about some of these other corners that we have, you're a little more concerned when you're playing that much man. They can do it, but they don't excel in it, right? Like DJ Lee. Like he is I'm not necessarily comparing him to Richard Sherman, but Sherman was a big zone corner, right? Man's not necessarily his thing. I think DJ Lee probably could hold his own a little bit better than Sherm. Sherm definitely did not like playing man, but Xavier Brown, that's not even, you're not worried about that. And I think it's important to have a corner that's that true lockdown guy. And not to mention, I mean, the physicality, right? A lot of corners, they avoid that. I've seen a lot of times he's willing to put his head in there. Maybe not Marlon Humphrey-esque, but it's more physical than the majority of corners. So I would probably move him up a little bit. And the argument with Lottie and Ryan, people might not agree with this, but I think that's interchangeable too. Like you said, I mean, he had a little bit of a down year, but I'm telling you right now, Ryan's got the potential to be one of the best wide receivers in college football. He has that natural ability. Don't let some of the lows that he had overshadow that. So you're talking about potential and upside. Ryan's got the most potential and upside out of the group. He just does. It's just a matter of getting back to that. And I think if you believe that he can, I would probably put him over. But again, they're back to back here. So really it's not a huge difference. But if someone wanted to do that, which I would consider doing that, I'm cool with that. Let's hit a timeout because I know we got to catch up a little bit. When we come back, we'll review Clint's 11 through 20. We'll give our thoughts on that, get the chat's thoughts on that, give them an opportunity. And of course, we got Smitty on the phone lines. So we'll get Smitty's thoughts when we come back right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Do you have cracks or potholes? All right, so we got 11 through 20 up if you guys want to chime in on that. Let me read some of these chats. Mustard can't play man. No, I'm not saying that he can't play man. No, he can play man, but that's not going to be his strong suit. I mean, he's a 6'3", 6'4" corner. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of expect those guys to, I wouldn't say struggle in man, but there's not many guys that are that tall that you're going to say, hey, they excel. They're just not going to have that same change of direction, that same hip fluidity. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, you think about basketball. I mean, the taller the player is, you're not expecting him to be as agile. So same thing with football. There are outliers. I think he can play man, but you just gotta be physical, right? You got to use your length. You got to stop guys at the off the line, right? When you're jamming them up, like if you're going to be a man or at least press like that, you have to use that to your advantage. But I would say he can play man, but it's not his strong suit. That's the way I would word it. Xavier Brown, I'm not worried about it. Like if we're calling 0, we're calling 1. I might be a little concerned about DJ Lee versus Xavier, and I'm not really thinking about that. And that's if I had to give one, I wouldn't call it a critique, but it's one thing that does kind of raise questions for me. I know we all brag about the length in our secondary room, and I love it. But when you see, like, I mean, everybody is tall like that. I'm not saying just because you're tall means you can't run or change direction well, but you'd almost just kind of wondering, like, damn, we really pretty much going to have to. Are we almost get to the point where we have no choice but to play that much zone? Because, if your personnel is not really built to do it, which they want to play a bunch of zone, I guess they're recruiting that intentionally. But for me, I feel like it's nice to have a little bit of both, right? I mean, you don't want to be stuck in zone all the time. If you watch year one from Kalen DeBoer, but year one under Kane Womack, they ran a whole bunch of man coverage that year. And they had the guys that they could do that with, right? They played a lot of man coverage, and it worked well for them. The problem was they were a little too predictable, and which man coverage is kind of predictable in itself, right? When these quarterbacks are doing, pre-snap motion for their indicators. I mean, if you're a man, cat's out the bag, right? As soon as somebody runs with them, it's man. But you still can do some things to kind of mix it up. And I felt like we just sat back in single high, middle of the field, closed, and it was obvious, right? Press. I mean, it's cover one. Year two, we started seeing a lot more of the zone principles that they wanted to run. But then I also felt like we could have mixed it up a little bit more. We didn't play as much man as we did last season, or as the first season as we did last season. So I feel like they just got to find a little bit of a balance. And to have that balance, you need the right personnel. So not saying they don't have that, but I just think you just got to be kind of – if you just recruit a bunch of 6'3" and 6'4" corners, man, you just got to have a good idea that there's a good chance they're not going to be the best in man coverage. So curious kind of how that plays out. But best believe in zone, it's nice. I mean, that's a lot of a lot of area you're covering with all them limbs running around. So they got safeties playing corner now. Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say that point too. I'm sure some of these guys have position versatility where you could probably move them on the back end. But Husky, that's the other thing. You need some guys that for the Husky skill set, from early down standpoint in terms of like run support, it's nice having bigger body guys, but you also have to remember that Huskies are going to be slot players, meaning they're lined up on slot guys. Who plays slot? Lotzie or Brooks? Let me ask you this. What kind of matchup do you think that is to have a guy like DJ Lee, responsible to cover a Lotzie or Brooks body type? That's a little if you're in zone, it's okay. I mean, cover three, they're flat players, curl flat. You playing man concepts, brother, good luck. Strap them up because you got to follow that man everywhere he goes. And a guy like Lotzie or Brooks, bro, that is a tough matchup to be in, man. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're going to talk 11 through 20 on Clint's list, but let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. Get our guy Smitty up here. Smitty, welcome in.
How's it going, Christian?
Man, I can't complain, man. It's a Friday, man. How's everything?
Good. I know one thing. Me, you, and Reed need to hire Chase's agent because that man's always on vacation. Man,
No,
I was teasing Chase earlier. Hey, I know, man. I was talking calling Kawhi Leonard, man. Load management.
Wow.
But Chase is always good to have you back, man. Hey, just saying, man. But yesterday, right, your dad was talking about, like, Alabama impact players in the portal, the plug-and-play receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in case people forgot, I'm not knocking him for I know he's possible to South Carolina. That plug-and-play receiver kind of hurt his knee in the spring game. So,
I was trying to correct him, and him, he just starts going. I don't want to be rude, but I'm just like, because listen, I understood what he was saying, but it's like he's got to update his software, right? Because he was going off of impressions of during portal season. Because I even was saying a number of similar things, and again, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I wouldn't say that the guys we got are all like definitive plug and play, huge upgrade guys. But after having a chance to see all of them this spring, like you mentioned, Noah Rogers, he in fact was a very solid portal addition, right? Might not be Cam Coleman, but seeing the impact that he was having this spring, I mean, he was kind of Jeremy Bernard-esque in the sense that he was proven to be a very reliable target and was going to be a really nice addition. Devin Tompkins, right? That's why I was saying my dad needs to update his software. Going into when we first got him, I'm like, okay, I think he'll help with some pass rush stuff. We got to work with him playing the run. He was a lot more physical than I saw on tape. He's a big body guy, great versatility. I'm not saying he's going to be a day one guy, but I definitely think I'm a lot more confident in what he's going to bring to the table now than I maybe was thinking before that. So I agree with you. Josh Ford, seeing him right through the portal, saw a guy that played 4 games, didn't know much about him. You watch him here in person, like, this is a big kid. He's strong. He's physical. I think he's going to be a nice addition. So while I understand what he's saying, it doesn't look like LSU's class that has guys where you're like, yep, what that dude can do. I think these are some strategic pieces that are going to be a lot better than some people are giving them credit for. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And I'm high on Terrence Green because I've been saying for the longest, Tim Keenan had no real backup because the young man, I think it was his name was Beeman.
Yeah,
he got injured. And so you had no backup, no depth behind him. So now you got Terrence Green and Bingley Jones. I'm not saying Bingley Jones will be a star, but hey, you just want a guy who's hungry who will do his job.
and Beeman's coming back. So now you're going to have some depth at that nose position. But one thing I want to ask you, though, because I know you get to it because Clint, y'all got so much time. But Clint, on one of his videos yesterday, he talked about, like, the 5 for 5 being pushed and everything. But if there was if they ever pushed a one-time transfer, he talked about how that could affect recruiting. And can I ask you this? Why would you go into a bidding war if you got 5 for 5 and a one-time transfer of a high school kid when you can just get a kid from the portal and he's locked in? That's what Clint was talking about. What were your thoughts or something like that?
Well, I mean, I think strategically that definitely works in your favor. If they no longer can transfer, you're probably going to be able to feel, just, I guess, sleep at night knowing that once they're with you, especially if it's a guy that decided to transfer early on. Say he was at a program 1 year, you got him for 4 years after that. And I hate to say it like this, but I feel like that kind of gives an advantage to the school, because if he can no longer transfer, granted, he can transfer, but he'll have to sit out. It kind of gives them a little bit more leverage when it comes to the money factor in this whole thing. Because think about it. Now the ball is a little bit more in the school's court. At least that's how it appears to me. Because right now, the fact that these kids can just transfer, they pretty much can demand whatever. If you can't leave without sitting out, I mean, these schools can probably gives them a little bit more power in terms of all this pay that we're seeing. In terms of it hurting high school recruiting, I was thinking initially that it could, but then also remember that right now, over the past few years, we've already gotten adapted to guys having 6 and 7 years of eligibility. I almost feel like we've already experienced that shift and those effects. So I don't think the 5 for 5 is a huge, I guess, change from kind of what we've seen, because people already were suing for extra years. So I don't think it's too much of an issue as I initially thought, but I think it maybe gives a little bit more power back to the universities. Do you see it that way too?
Yeah, because one, if 5 years, you should only have 5 years. I'm sorry. I'm tired of seeing these guys that be 26, 27 years old still doing the equivalent of going to college tonight at the club. Guys are too old. Move on in your lives. That's how I look at it, Just being real, we all seen those guys. Guys, let's move on. Start a family. But that's how I look at it. Hey, if you get hurt, I'm sorry. Life isn't fair. It happens. But hey, you can still use a network to, like, probably get a coaching gig like a Jamie Mosley, things of that sort. And, they may need a position. They may start to back and hire you one day. But I think, like, one thing I wanted to bring up also is, like those 2 young edge rushers that Alabama signed, they ain't highly rated. But I'm glad the boys are hungry. You see, they take their physical, they hungry.
Right.
We need to get more. And I see some of the young guys like Justin Hill like that, Dre Jr., some of these other young guys who got the hunger and the toughness and wanting to be out there and be physical. We need to make sure they're getting paid. You got to have guys who want to play like they're broke. The old Kobe Bryant mentality. Play like you're broke. And because that hunger is going to be there, and that will translate to everywhere else on this team. Because I give you props. You look at players' tape, and I tell people this also. I told a buddy of mine, Nick Saban has said no to many 5-stars because he watched tape.
No, that's very true. That is very true. I don't think people understand that. There's a number of guys that he didn't recruit. It didn't matter what they're ranked because he just went off evals. And that's why I always tell people, like, the evals are so important because, these services, no disrespect to them. I'm not saying I don't respect their evals, but I don't know who's coming out with 5, 4, and 3-star rankings. I don't know who's doing the evals or if they're even doing it at all. You just don't, like, how do you genuinely rank 1,000 kids? I'm telling you right now, I do evals, and there's no way I'd be able to separate the top 80 edge guys from like 20 through 80. How the hell do you know what I mean? Like, do you know how hard that would be to really do that? I don't, at that point, I trust my eyes better.
And I say this before I run. Thanks for taking my call as always. I didn't realize that was Jimmy Stein and Clint was talking about Darius White and Ty Phillips being injured much of their junior season. So imagine what they would have done if they were actually healthy most of their time. People got to understand, rankings are partly injuries, not going to camps, anything like that. And plus, these rankings are based on junior tape. Right. You still got a whole senior season. Keelan Russell was a 3-star that was being mocked by all these opposing fan bases. Now look at them now. So
true.
These are still children.
And so many of them can improve. But at the same time, I just want guys who are hungry, who want to play like they broke. And that's all I have, Christian. Man, you guys have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. You too, brother. Likewise. Always appreciate you, my guy. Good stuff, man. All right, our guy Smitty. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we wrap things up on this free-for-all Friday. This is the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC.
Catch hourly local news up.
All right, we probably won't have time for 11 through 20, but let's see. Christian, explain the difference between pattern matching and zone one day, bro. Yeah, we can do that. That's a great question. Biggest difference is pattern matching is basically zone that turns man. You end up buying guys as the routes develop. And just traditional zone is just that. You know, a lot of people have different philosophies with stuff, but a lot of the time you see traditional zone drops being landmark drops, right? You know, curl flat might be 10 to 12 yards, deep 2 yards outside the hash, right? Playing it deep to short, working through that slant window on your way you're buzzing out, if you're doing a buzz drop. You know, just really being responsible for specific zones, passing everything off. I mean, that's your traditional zone, but in pattern matches, you're basically buying guys, right, as the routes develop. For example, you know, cover three, you know, if we're 2x2 and it's Rip Liz, let's say normally I'm worried about, you know, 3 working to the flat. I'm in a 9 technique on that tight end, say 3 works away. I'm looking to carry that. If I have 2 vertical, I'm going to carry him vertical. Why? Because I have nothing to threaten my flats unless we get like a smash concept and 1 break short. You know, they might alert me, then I'm breaking off of that. But the reason pattern matching is beneficial is because it helps prevent anybody exploiting the weaknesses of the coverage. So let's stick with cover 3. Now, cover 3 is a 3 deep coverage, right? You've got everybody playing thirds. Both corners are thirds players. The middle of the field safety, he's the middle third. Then underneath, you've got 4 zone droppers. The weakness of cover 3, with it being a 3 deep defense, is where it's going to be your seams and then your direct flats, your quick flat routes. You have curl flat players, but with them playing deep with depth, you know, if you get a quick flat route, dump it off, you know, your job, the offense is banking on that guy making the curl flat player miss, guaranteed at least a few short yards, so be it. But really the seams, right? Those are going to be weak because you have 2 hook players, but then you only have 1 deep safety in the middle. So that's why you see, you know, say like a Seattle concept, or you got verts down the field and cover 3. That's a weakness right there. So what pattern matching kind of helps with, like I was talking about with Rip Liz, when I'm able to carry 3, it's helping prevent that throw, right? Like we know the offense would love to exploit that in cover 3. I'm now preventing that because I am running with that, right? I am buying that route. So it kind of just helps protect you from being exploited. And that's one of the biggest, I guess, benefits, in my opinion, of pattern matching. And that's why we did it so much. I mean, Coach Saban's system, it is pattern matching. It was very seldom that, you know, we had, you know, some concepts with landmark drops, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it was match principles. Even, you know, we ran a lot of fire zone coverage, right? Very similar. Oh, that's what's going on. I think my screen door is open. That's what's making my dogs do. I'm wondering, like, what the hell is all that noise? But I know we only got like a minute left, so we'll break that down one day. But that's a really good question. We'll get back into some football talk. When you get off radio, you need to watch The Moment 2026 Xavier Brown Gatorade. I have to look into that. If we can just finish this show without top flight security behind me going crazy because of a screen door, that's exactly what that is. I was wondering, I'm like, bro, there's no way I got that much stuff going on. Love match coverage. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it because, I mean, that's what I came from. That's what I know. That's what was taught to me. And like I said, I mean, there's an answer pretty much for everything, right? I mean, there's still weaknesses to certain things. Of course, there's probably, you know, match beaters, right? People can design concepts, but ultimately, I mean, you're not relying. I mean, when you just spot drop, there's a lot of holes, right? That's where you can get picked apart. That's why, like, we saw that last year. We played Oklahoma. We did all that spot drop, and it just, to be honest with you, man, like, it's good and all, but at the same time, good quarterbacks will pick it apart, and good receivers that know, how to find space in their routes. And welcome back briefly, about 30 seconds as we wrap things up on this Free For All Friday. Just a quick reminder about our friends over at Lamparello Law, lamparello-law.com. You can find them for all of your representation needs, any criminal conduct. If you find yourself in a situation like that, knock on wood, we hope that doesn't happen, but life happens, of course. NIL, name, image, likeness, academic misconduct, they got you. And of course, all those other services that they offer for students, high school, graduate, college, you name it, they've got you covered. Free consultations at their website, lamparello-law.com. Right now, it's Lamparello Law, the official representation here on the Miller's Edge. That'll do it for us on this Free For All Friday. Big thanks to Chase Behind the Glass, all of our listeners via radio, on our streams, on the app. We appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's day, and we'll see you guys Monday right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, good deal, man. Good deal. Watched it yesterday. Where's it at? Where's that Xavier Brown thing at? Pattern match is the most universal coverage available, covers most route patterns. Yeah, it just gives you a lot of protection against a lot of different concepts, man. That's why, like, I don't hate on, just your country cover too, or all that, but when you're in those types of zone drops, I mean, good offenses, I mean, there's always beaters to everything, right? There's cover 4 beaters, cover 2 beaters. I'm not saying, I mean, there's man beaters. There's beaters are everything, but pattern matching is a little bit more complex for an offense too, because it's like, I mean, it's a zone that turns into man, right? Versus if you just go play cover 2, right? Country cover 2, you got both corners, right? They're going to be playing the flats. They're going to, play with coverage and, break on things. Like, there's always, like, the whole shot in cover 2. We all know. I mean, Ty did a hell of a job hitting those whole shots. You go back and watch. It was it Vanderbilt, Georgia? I mean, he had some really nice shots. You know where your holes are going to be. There's only so much you can really do, right? And when offenses are keen to, that's why I was saying, like, I feel like last year we played so much zone, and we did a decent job disguising it. We played a lot of invert too, where we had our safety as a middle field runner. We would use our Husky as the flat player, and our corner would actually be the half. So it really portrayed more of an invert too, because you'd have a corner who typically is a flat player. He would now be a half player. Husky would take his responsibility. And instead of having a linebacker as your middle field runner, we would work the other safety. And it really looked like invert too. I like that coverage. We played that a lot last year, and I thought it was a solid. I don't know if we played as much the first year. I have to go back and look. So when you're able to mix things up like that, it's a lot better. It's a lot better. But I've never been a huge fan of just like with my dad, we'd have those back and forths. He's just like, oh, just play zone, first guy out has the flat. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But then you have guys like Sark and Lane Kiffin that they exploit all those rules, which, I mean, and they're smart. They exploited our, cover 7 rules. I remember in 2023 when we played Texas, man, Sark knew how Coach Saban's, and he knew the principles of Coach Saban's defense. And I can tell you right now, if you go back and watch that Alabama-Texas game from 2023, he did a hell of a job, man. Some of those route concepts. I mean, he knew our safeties in certain defenses would, buy certain things after a certain depth. So he would maybe adjust these routes to really cause a lot of conflict with our own rules, and it leads to mental error because guys are like, it creates confusion, right? It's like, all right, well, I'm supposed to carry if we're in quarters and I got 2x2 and I got this guy running at me and he's at this depth, I'm supposed to do this, but then he takes it a couple yards deeper and that causes conflicts with our principles, and then you got two guys confused, man. Like, that's the type of chess games that a lot of coordinators play. You can get more picks with pattern match. I mean, it depends. You can force a lot of turnovers with standard zone coverage too, if you disguise it well and you have defenders that do a nice job really feeling out their zone and understanding kind of what's in front of them too, right? Like, that's why it's important as a football player to kind of to really know kind of what you're doing, why you're doing it, right? If you got somebody coming underneath, 9 times out of 10, you got somebody coming back behind you. You know what I mean? Like, and that helps when you're in end zone coverage to feel things out. That's really where turnovers come from, man. When you have smart football players, guys that know and understand route concepts, especially defenders, right? Like when you're a defender and you know route concepts and kind of what's coming or hey, I'm getting this look pre-snap. I know they have a tendency to do this. I know normally when they work, gun knee, or say they're in, doubles and they got the back offset to this receiver and they send him in on a jet motion. They like to run this play or this concept. Like, that's really where those big plays start happening. So that said, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to give me some lunch, kick back, relax a little bit. It's been a long week. You guys know the drill. If you haven't, man, hit that like button. We'll definitely be back next week. Try to see if we can get on here in terms of some guests outside of the norm. And maybe if you guys have any like stuff like that, like pattern matching and questions like that, we can get back to doing some some breakdown stuff, some teaching stuff like that. I think that'd be cool. So drop your suggestions in some chats and some comments and all that. We'll definitely take a look at it. Double moves killed our corners last year. Yeah, double moves are tough. Again, I mean, what helps is having, studying your opponent and knowing kind of when that stuff can come up. But really, double moves are just tough because you think you're getting one thing, your eyes are seeing one thing. You just got to stay disciplined, man. You just got to know how to really notice subtle differences. And like I said, tendencies will kind of help with that as well. But yeah, I think Damani got hit on a bad double move against Georgia. I'm trying to think what coverage we were in. I was just watching that game not long ago. I think we were in man on that one. I want to say I think we might have been in cover 0, matter of fact. I think we brought pressure. And that one's tough. I mean, I think it was cover 0. You don't have safety help over the top. You're in straight man-to-man coverage. It's just you on an island. And then if you talk about situationally, right? I mean, if you're thinking playing the sticks and this guy is sitting down real quick, you're thinking they're just trying to convert the first down, and that dude, boom, he's gone. That's tough, That's a tough position to be in, Now, when you have safety help over the top, or you have, you know what I mean, like that's you can keep that in mind with stuff. But with cover 0, man, you're locked. There is no passing off. There's no smash concepts. I mean, that's your man. I want to see what you're looking for when you're assessing players. Maybe make an AI chart checklist on how you assess each player positions. Ramon, thank you so much, man. Have a great weekend. Really, I mean, I can just explain it real quick. I mean, it really just depends. I mean, each position, I know that's where you want specifics. I'll be honest. So I don't try to act like an expert, like a quarterbacks. I can tell if a guy has good footwork or not. I'm not going to be able to break it down the same way I can do an edge guy, defensive lineman, a linebacker. But in terms of just things like footwork, mechanics, I try to look at stuff like that, watching them go through their reads. That one's, like I said, going to be a little bit different. Offensive lineman, I'm looking at all different things, right? I'm looking at their set, right? Their ankle and hip flexibility. A lot of stuff is technical that can be taught. Some of these other things are more like stiffness. I mean, that's hard to work with. Is a guy stiff? How are his hips? What's his fluidity like, right? Especially like if you're talking about positions that require a lot of change direction. Like if you're looking at defensive backs, I want to see if he can, change direction. I want to see his burst, getting out of his breaks. So, I mean, there's different things. There's from a technical standpoint, like, does he play with good eyes? Is he instinctual, right? How is his motor? Those are a lot of other. So, I mean, you look at physical stuff, you look at other things that there's going to be like some things that can be taught and corrected. There's other things that can't. And then you keep those in mind while you're watching it. And I guess for me, and sometimes it's hard for me to even explain. Like, it's just I can just tell you by what I'm seeing. Like, I don't always even. I know everybody says I articulate stuff well, but there's times where I'm like, I can just if you show me a couple players, I can tell you just by looking. Like, I can tell you some of those things I just mentioned. The others, I'm just like, I can just tell you. Like, I know how it's supposed to look. If that makes sense, just because you see it so much. I mean, when you do it for like 20 plus years and like all your whole life consists of going out there and physically doing it, and then coming back and watching what you just did, and then go back and doing it, rinse and repeat. It's just like you just know what it's supposed to look like. Like, but I just try to explain what I'm seeing. But a lot of times it's really just like the guy we watched today, the edge guy. Yeah, I'm explaining the heavy hands. I'm explaining that stuff, but like, hopefully, I'm portraying exactly that. Because really, it's just like if he was 6'3" or 6'4" doing what he was doing on tape, I'm telling you, he would be a much higher rated guy because people would be able to project him even more so into doing a lot of different stuff. But I think when they think, 6'1.5", I mean, he's got good tape, but it's the physical limitations that I think. Visual experience, but giving an analysis on it is completely different. Yeah, 100%. Be safe, bro. Have a good weekend. Absolutely, man. You too, brother. I appreciate that. In breaking routes. I'm trying to think. I mean, double moves are, like I said, those are always tough. It depends. When you're talking about in breaking routes, I mean, the coverage matters a lot. Because if you're just saying in breaking routes, but you're in true zone, like if you're in cover 2 and you have an in breaking route, that's not that corner's responsibility. That's going to be that hook curl dropper, right? And if you don't have enough depth, you got a window right there. I mean, if you got a guy playing a half, and it depends on what everybody else. That's why I'm saying route concepts are big. We'd have to look at stuff like maybe we'll pull up some tape one day and really break it down, and then we can talk about it then. But y'all have a great weekend. Hit that like button on the way out, and be safe. And we look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. Appreciate you guys as always, man. Y'all be easy.